Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Liam Douglas here, and in today's video we're taking a look at the Fujifilm GF 110mm lens for the Fujifilm GFX series of cameras. This is the 110 RLM-WR, but before we get into what all the letters stand for and what this lens can do, let's go ahead and roll the intro. Okay, so as I mentioned before the intro, this is the Fujifilm GF 110mm RLM-WR lens for the Fujifilm GFX series of cameras. Now, I just wanted to let you know, full disclosure, this lens, along with the GFX 50S medium format mirrorless body from my previous video, are on loan from Roberts Camera. A shout out to Meredith from Roberts Camera for lending me this lens and camera body for a couple of weeks so I could do these videos for you. They are not a sponsor of the channel, so I don't want you to think that. They are just kind enough to lend me gear on occasion so that I can bring this content to you. So a shout out to them. If you're looking for new camera gear, check out robertscamera.com. You'll find the link down below in the description. And if you're looking to buy or sell used camera gear, check out their sister site, Used Photo Pro. You'll find the link for that down below as well. And a shout out to them again. Thank you very much, Meredith and the good folks at Roberts Camera. Okay, so this is the lens we're talking about today. Now, you may be wondering, if you're not familiar with Fujifilm systems, what do all of the alphabetic letters stand for in the Fujifilm lenses? This one in particular is an RLM-WR. What exactly does that mean? Well, the first R means that this lens has an aperture ring, and you can see that right here. It allows you to physically change the aperture on this using this ring here from f2 to f22. And it also has an A for auto mode as well as a C for the command mode. If you set it in the automatic mode, it'll change the aperture automatically. If you put it in the C for command dial mode, then you can change the aperture using the command dial on the front or rear of the camera. And then of course it also has a lock release switch so you can get it out of command mode and back into normal aperture selection mode using the aperture ring. Now, the LM means that it has a linear motor autofocusing system, which is a very fast and quiet autofocus system that Fujifilm has been using in their lenses for quite some time now. And the WR means this lens is weather resistant. It means that it has weather sealing to prevent dust and moisture from getting inside to the glass elements and the sensitive electronics. It does not mean that you can drop this thing in a lake or something like that. That will destroy the lens, but it does prevent elements from seeping in when you're shooting in less than optimal conditions. Now, this lens, as I mentioned, is 110 millimeters. Now, what that means in a 35 millimeter full frame field of view is it is 87 millimeters, which means it is absolutely perfect to use as a portrait lens. This is what would be considered a medium telephoto lens. The maximum aperture, as I mentioned a moment ago, is f2. The minimum aperture is f22. It is an autofocus lens, of course, but it does not have any image stabilization. So you would either have to be okay with shooting without any kind of image stabilization or have one of the newer GFX bodies that does have built-in image stabilization. The GFX 50S original does not. It is a 77 millimeter front filter on this lens, so not super huge. And as I've mentioned many times before, both on this channel and on my podcast, if you're smart like me, you buy yourself a large set of filters like 82 or 95 or maybe even 100, and you get yourself a good quality set of step-up rings. That way you can use one set of filters for every lens that you own. Now, this is, of course, the Fujifilm G-mount lens type. So that is the lens mount on the back. It is a G-mount, which is what it is called for the Fujifilm medium format camera system. The angle of view is 27.9 degrees. It has a minimum focusing distance of 2.95 feet or 90 centimeters. and a maximum magnification of 0.16 times. Now, the optical design of this lens is 14 elements in 9 groups, and it has 9 aperture blades in the diaphragm to give you beautiful round bokeh when you want to use it for portraits. It, again, does not have any image stabilization. Now, the dimensions of this lens are 3.71 by 4.94 inches, or 94.3 by 125.5 millimeters. And the lens weighs 2.22 pounds, or 1,010 grams. So it is a little bit of a hefty lens, but not too terrible. As I mentioned in the previous video, when I was reviewing the GFX 50S original here, if you put this lens on the front of the 50S, it does make the camera a little bit front heavy, but not super terrible. I personally think with the deep beefy grip on this camera body, the combination feels really good in the hands, and it makes it extremely manageable. This lens is very fast, very sharp, very accurate. Fujifilm makes some really superb glass, especially for both their X and their GFX series of cameras. They're no slouches when it comes to quality optics. Just like any of the other camera companies, they make very good quality glass, very fast autofocus, very accurate, and you get amazing images with any of their lenses, and this one definitely does not disappoint. It is very responsive, very sharp and accurate, great contrast, great image detail, great color rendition. I've been extremely happy shooting with this lens. Now, of course, as part of this video, I'm going to share some sample images that I captured with the GFX 50S and this 110 millimeter lens so that you can see them for yourself. Now, the weather has been horrible here in North Carolina, to be honest, for the last month or so. It's been super bitter cold with high winds, lots of rain. We've gotten a little bit of a break in the last few days, so I did get out earlier this week to get some shots with this body and lens combo. I went up to South Boston, Virginia, which is about a 22-mile drive from here, just to go someplace different. I know I've been to South Boston a few times before for these YouTube videos, but to be honest, in the part of North Carolina where Tina and I live, there's not a whole lot to shoot around here, just being honest. It's not like when I lived in the Atlanta area. Georgia just had so many places close by that I could go and shoot. I never ran out of content to shoot. Now, I'm not saying North Carolina doesn't have great places to shoot. The only problem is so many of the great locations to shoot in North Carolina are literally several miles, or several hours, I should say, from where we live. The closest really great waterfall, which I would love to do some daytime long exposure of, is like literally a 6-hour drive one way from our house. So I'm hoping maybe later on this year I'll be able to get out and do more traveling. I do have a friend that's a fellow photographer. He's a highly talented toy photographer who lives in Lenoir, North Carolina. I'm hoping to meet up with him later on this year and maybe go out and do a photo walk together, the two of us. He's a great guy, very talented photographer. But Lenoir, North Carolina, I think is like 3 hours from where I live. So it'll be a little bit of a drive. We'll probably do that on a weekend or something like that. But let me go ahead and share some images that I captured with this body and lens combo up in South Boston this past week. And then I'll come back here and we'll wrap up this video. All right, so as you saw from my sample images, I was able to get some really great images with this lens and this camera combination while I was up in South Boston. Again, this lens is absolutely fantastic, very good quality optics, great contrast, great colors, very sharp, very fast autofocus, very quiet autofocus. I love the aperture ring. It's one of the things I love the most about Fujifilm cameras is that a lot of the lenses do have the aperture ring. Being that I'm somebody that started out in the days of film photography many decades ago, I'm kind of nostalgic for having the aperture ring on my lenses because so many of our lenses did, of course, back in those days. And I realize one of the things I really love about my Fujifilm systems is having the aperture rings. And even most of my third-party lenses, being that most of them are from companies like Viltrox or Meike, they all have aperture rings on them for the most part as well. Even my ones from TT Artisans and 7 Artisans all have aperture rings. And like I said, it's one of the things I really love about my Fujifilm system since I made the switch from Canon about 3 years ago, I think it has been now, or maybe it's going on 4 now. But I just had a really great time shooting with this lens and this camera. The GFX system is absolutely amazing. If you want to do some truly beautiful photography, get lots of detail, lots of dynamic range, beautiful colors, you absolutely cannot go wrong with the GFX system from Fujifilm. It's going to give you much better image quality than you can get from any of the full frame camera systems. And I'm not saying that to knock anything full frame. Full frame cameras are great, but these are just superior. You got a bigger sensor, you've got more detail, more resolution, more dynamic range. It's a win-win all the way around. And Fujifilm's medium format systems don't cost any more than a flagship 35mm full frame system from one of the other companies would cost you. The lenses are comparable in price, the bodies are comparable in price, so you really can't go wrong. And with the release of their latest GFX 100 series bodies, the 100S2 and the GFX 100 Mark II, they've also made these cameras fast enough to even shoot sports with, which is absolutely mind-blowing. All right, that's going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch it. Please remember to subscribe down below. Turn on all notifications. I want to thank all of you who are new subscribers. We recently broke 12,000 subscribers, and I want to thank all of you for supporting the channel, and I hope that you will continue to support it. I will be having some giveaways later on this year, so make sure you're subscribed and you continue to watch and share out these videos. All right, I will see you all next time.